Few places in the world are as important to the ad specialty industry as China. More than 90% of the industry's products are manufactured there in factories that are dealing with ever-increasing challenges, from labor shortages to brownouts to government takeovers. With so much at stake in Asia, Counselor traveled to China following a leading industry supplier and talking to key players about the biggest issues behind the Great Wall.
I do believe China is very important to the industry.
Here on the streets of Hong Kong is where our trip begins. For 2 hours, we drive north onto the mainland, passing through tunnels, crossing over bridges, and seeing firsthand how this nation of 1.3 billion is being built up, not just to accommodate its people, but also to accommodate the West.
Right now we're headed to Dongguan, which is past Shenzhen, to visit one of the factories that we use for manufacturing our products for Dart.
I can see Dart, yeah.
When we arrive, we notice the gated site looks more like a campus than a factory. But as our tour guide takes us building to building, the intensity of the work is clear.
It's a process, and it's not just 1, 2, 3.
Many promotional products are often made from scratch here. For example, these plastic pellets will eventually become cases for pedometers. In other areas, workers put together components for more high-tech items like electronics, all before logos are printed several dozen times per minute.
You have 1-color machines and up to 3 or 4 color machines.
While it's common for 5,000 to 10,000 units to be made in one day, the 300 factory workers do have a chance for downtime. That's important because these employees not only work here, they live here. In this dormitory, some people bunk 6 in a room, a usual arrangement for Chinese factories. A standard wage, we're told, is about 3,000 yuan, or almost $500 US per month. This worker tells us he's happy with his job here as he tries to support his family that's 24 hours away by train. He says this is one of the best places he's ever worked. Of course, not everything is perfect at this or equivalent factories in China. No supplier is immune to rising labor and material costs, not to mention the realities of infrastructure.
Because we're visiting in April and it's not quite so hot outside, this particular factory can operate 5 days a week. But come the summer, it's very common when it gets much warmer for factories to close 1 or 2 days at a time through rolling blackouts. There's just not enough electricity to go around.
You put things in perspective for a distributor, especially when people want to know why things take long or what are the processes that you have to go to or why things cost what they do. And now I can tell them exactly why.
Back in Hong Kong, on the second day of our trip, we take the short ferry ride across Victoria Harbor. On the other side, we find the largest gift show in the world. This colorful place is where suppliers both show off their wares and look for the next big thing.
We're looking for different and interesting, and also price point based on, for our catalog.
Dart is one of a handful of ASI-listed suppliers to have a booth at the Hong Kong show.
Any Lily?
People visit from all over the world, from countries like Mexico, Saudi Arabia, and Nigeria, and in this woman's case, Australia.
We're looking to put a partnership together with them and to be able to come up with ideas for them and share their ideas as well.
In terms of ideas, there are many here. Displays are elaborate and products are predictably unusual. They're scattered on 5 floors and halls throughout this massive convention center. This year's trends include eco-friendly items and smartphone accessories.
We like to support our customer with the long term. We all the time develop, and we don't like to spread our product between many accounts.
For the 4,000 suppliers here, their pitch to buyers now must not only include product practicality and a good price point, but also, maybe most importantly, proof of compliance.
I believe that those top suppliers that are working with China to build and develop that compliance level is going to keep safe product in the States. As many other suppliers know that when you're offering a compliant product, it's going to cost more.
On our third day in China, we again headed to the massive Hong Kong Convention Center. But this time we went to get opinions from other key players in China, beginning our day at a media breakfast before sitting down for an exclusive interview with prominent legislator Jeffrey Lam.
I think China needs the United States and United States needs China. On the face, they have a lot of disagreement and they argue. But at the end, they will compromise. This is politics and also economics.
While there are hopes for compromise, there are also real concerns that an undervalued yuan will further complicate the importing and exporting that happens here. Some believe the West will be forced to move manufacturing away from China, but many think the break won't come easily.
Yes.
When a country like China is investing so much money into all of these different countries, they will play a greater and greater role economically with those countries.
Beyond trade issues, our conversations with executives revealed a lengthy list of industry challenges here. From labor unrest to the rising cost of raw materials, from the influence of Alibaba.com to much longer lead times, suppliers are forced to take a different approach than they ever have before.
It's important that we hedge the bet with inflation, with cost increases, with labor shortages, and with the knowledge that distributors can't sell from an empty wagon.
Suppliers and distributors are also starting to realize that as more people move to China's cities, domestic needs for products, even promotional items, will also increase.
In China, the needs of the products is also there, that they will avoid too much export to other countries.
While there may be fewer products exported from China, the reduction will not be immediate. So says Philippe Varnier, chairman of Polyconcept, the largest ad specialty supplier in the world.
But the more central areas of China are still very poor. There are still a lot of people who would love to work for a couple of $100s a month to make products in a decent environment.
Still, with all the challenges of doing business here, suppliers are already thinking about the next China, even if it's well into the future.
The place I think that has the most potential down the line is probably one day North Korea. If that could be like the next China, where you have a strong labor pool and a potential to open up a very strong infrastructure.
But until that day, which could be 30 years or more from now, the ad specialty industry will be unavoidably tied to China. And as night falls on our trip to the other side of the world, it's clear the question of what happens next has no easy answer.
During our final days in China, demonstrating just how contentious the climate could be, several members of DART's Hong Kong staff were actually arrested. Chinese officials took issue with a promotional item on display in DART's booth. The details have been kept intentionally vague, but suppliers say incidents like this are becoming even more common, with China's government still very much in control. For Counselor Magazine, I'm Dave Agnoni.